With all that said, we have faction-based hazards. This analysis is based on my experience in fighting them alone in the car. If you have someone in a machine gun or the passenger, it naturally changes the equation. But my experience is from riding solo most of the time, and this view of the factions can be transferred to a more team-oriented playstyle, so I'll go over them as if you're alone. I also will assume you have the Quasar as your main means of fighting big enemies, which I'll explain in the loadout section. The last thing to note is that since this is a live service game, some details given will become somewhat inaccurate over time. This is especially the case since the devs seem to have a thing for nerfing/shadow nerfing the car via enemy buffs. Just bear that in mind. Firstly, the Terminids. When it comes to the Terminids, most of the small enemies aren't a threat to you as long as you're moving. Scavengers, Hunters, and Pouncers all get ran over easily, but a recent buff has made them a bit more resistant to being ran over than before. Warriors aren't a threat if you're going at speed, but if they don't die when you hit them, then they'll change the direction your car is heading in slightly. Hive guards have a harsher version of this property, and they've been given increased resistance to flinch when hit in a recent patch. So in effect, if you hit them and don't kill them, then they'll turn your car and they'll usually get an attack in on you. Stalkers have also been given this buff, but they do way more damage, so if you don't have a personal shield on, then you should probably be ready to stim when going to ram Stalkers. Brood and Alpha Commanders are like Warriors, but they have more HP, and they change your car's direction harder. Much the same with Spewers, but they have the flinch resistance buff as well. As a result, it would be wise to just drive past them rather than ram through them. Though Bile Spewer's mortar shots can do massive damage to your car if hit directly, easily popping wheels and sending you flying, so if you see one reeling up to shoot, you should avoid its aft end. The good thing is, all of these enemies I just mentioned, aside from Stalkers, have a solid chance when you get into the car when you were on foot before, to have a little surprise animation, allowing you to actually get the car moving so they can't mob you. Chargers are where the problems truly begin. Large enemy AI is changed for the car as mentioned before, so when a charger sees you in the car, they'll tend to start their charge almost immediately from further away than usual, and will also do so with a better turning radius. The only things that will make them stop is if they run into something, you cross them up, or you hit them with something with lots of stagger. If their charge does hit the car, then it will likely instantly pop a wheel, unless it hits the broadside of your car. If they do hit you, then try your best to pull away, otherwise they might cancel out of the charge into a crushing attack, which will likely one-tap you and do massive damage to the car. If you want to deal with them, then you'll likely want to get some distance so that you can headshot them with the Quasar without risk. The last thing to note about Chargers is that when a Charger walks up to a parked car, they'll usually get caught on it and begin doing tick damage to it over and over, popping the nearest wheel and destroying the car outright after a few seconds, so you should be mindful where you park. Bile Titans will hard target the car if someone's inside, and will usually ignore your teammates until you break line of sight or the car is vacated. The options with them are either run or take care of them. Their spit and stomp attacks are both extremely deadly to your car, so you should avoid close range if possible. You should get some distance to Quasar them in the head, or bait them into a spit attack, and then get to the side to get the easy headshot. Now, Impalers used to not be an issue, but they changed how their tentacles work. Now they interact with the car's physics, making it so that if a tentacle hits the car square on the top, you will likely explode regardless of HP, most of the time. This took them from a minor inconvenience to a doomsday level threat, which shows up commonly. The good news is, if you keep moving and don't get caught by the tentacles, then they'll either barely graze you or miss entirely. When it comes to eliminating them, you'll either have to get the drop on them and be already waiting with a Quasar at the ready when they deploy their tentacles, or you have to set the car on a long straight section so that you're moving as you're counterattacking. If you can't do either of these, then it may be best just to vacate the area. You can't be suffering a 7-minute cooldown to a commonly appearing enemy. Lastly, for the regular enemies, there are the Shriekers. They used to suicide bomb the car, but they changed how they work recently. They now no longer can be run over by the car. This makes it so that they can freely swoop and constantly be doing ship damage to you and or your car. It's best to destroy the Shrieker nest quickly with a Quasar shot per nest with a bit of extra fire from another weapon. Then, you may want to get to a safe area, get out, and finish the rest of your pursuers so they won't keep pestering you. Now when it comes to the sub-faction enemies, the Predator strain is fun if you have open spaces, but on cramped planets it can get tricky, because the Predator Hunters are as fast as a car going in middling speeds, and Predator Stalkers still do massive damage, but are easier to run over than regular Stalkers. The unfortunate thing is, the Stalker flinch res buff is also in effect, so you have to kill them with the ram in order to avoid the counterattack. So depending on the planet and your skill, they can either be far easier in the car, or an utter nightmare. With the Spore Burst strain, they're a pain because they explode when they die. Same goes with the Acid Spitters and Warriors. This means if you run over them, you'll very quickly begin taking lots of damage, to both the car and any divers inside. So if you have a map with these guys, you'll have to drive around them entirely much of the time. The Rupture strain tends not to be an issue as long as you're going at speed, because you speed past them before they can attack. The last two enemies to mention are the Dragon Roaches and the Hive Lord. Dragon Roaches are basically flying Bile Titans, except their acids sets you on fire. Since the car is more heavily damaged by fire than you are, you can see how the two don't mix. When the Roach has targeted you, they'll circle overhead, and then have an audible sound as they go for a strafing run. After this, they'll turn around and do a second attack where they try and saturate the area with their acid fire breath. On foot, you're almost guaranteed to get hit at least once, so you'll need to pop a stim. In the car, they have AI that allows for better targeting, but it can be dodged. You need to be going at a high speed and swerve to the side when you hear the strafe starting. After that, you should drive away so that the follow-up attack can't reach you. Trying to counterattack from the car is a fool's errand because it takes several body shots with the Quasar, and its only one-shottable area is the head, and it's hard to hit since it moves around a lot. I suggest running into the caves to avoid it, and if you're not on a Hive world, then pray. I have no advice other than drive well. They spawn too frequently and are too hard to consistently kill unless you bring a loadout specifically for dealing with them, which comes into conflict with a car-centric loadout, I would suggest. The Hive Lord should just be avoided. You should just call in a mech to fight it, or be on foot, since the spit attack does heavy damage to the car, and the body slam will one-shot the car, regardless of HP, just like Impaler Tentacles. Now we have the Terminid terrain. Terminid terrain is meant to be hostile to players, both on foot and especially ones in vehicles. It has lots of bumps, grooves, and obstructions, and is generally hard to keep stable on, but the main issue is the acid mines. These are everywhere, and when you run over them and don't get out of range in time, they'll flip your car, or otherwise send you flying. They are the things that have resulted in the most flips for me personally, and nothing else comes close. The only known counters are going at extremely low or high speeds. When at low speeds, explosions don't tend to launch as far, and at high speeds, you get out of range before they detonate. One additional counter I've come upon is pressing and holding the handbrake as I'm going over them. It seems like it slows you down enough so that the explosions almost never flip you. Just bear in mind, if two or more mines blow up at the exact same time, then they'll likely flip you through either slow speed method. This means, whenever you drop on Terminid planets, you have to be watching out for this terrain with these mines inside of them. This is especially the case with cities. The cities for the Terminids are far more hostile with bits and pieces of bug terrain, including acid mines. You'll have to apply some of the knowledge from regular Terminid terrain to a city environment to operate here. Lastly, a hazard I couldn't find anywhere else to mention is bug breaches. Do not be on or near a bug breach when it's called in, because every time it spawns enemies, it creates a shockwave that will launch your car. Not much else to it, just stay away from them. Initially, I was going to say clearing a Mega Nest solo is the best test of your navigational ability, but since Hive worlds now exist, that honor now shifts to them. In general, simply being able to keep your cars alive on Hive worlds is a feat in and of itself. But being able to reliably navigate the caves proves that you're probably a master at most of the general principles relating to the car. So if you're a driver and wish to test your navigational abilities, take it into the caves on a Hive world. And if you can reliably keep the car and yourself alive, then you're in the top percentile of drivers in that respect. Next, the Automatons. With the Automatons, you have to bear this in mind. Whenever you get into the car, Automatons as far as 100 plus meters out with line of sight will tend to get aggroed and open fire. They'll usually keep firing until you break line of sight or get over 200 meters away. So you need to get in, do your damage, and get out, because your car will steadily be taking chip damage from all the small enemies shooting at you. Also, in a recent patch, the Automatons have been given an accuracy buff. Lovely! Anyways, now for the individual enemies. All of the small enemies are easily ran over and dealt with promptly. Regular Striders also can easily be ran over when going at speed, so there's not much to say about them. Devastators are far more resilient and will massively slow down your car on contact. Running over them isn't recommended. Avoid them if possible. Rocket Troopers, Rocket Devastators, and Bruiser Hulk specifically are a special threat since rockets will send you flying, and they've been given a buff to their damage on vehicles recently. Try not to engage directly with enemies who shoot rockets. Hulks of the flame variety are only a threat if you let them catch up to you, so don't let that happen. But I will note, sometimes if your car is near a Hulk of any variety, they might go out of their way to melee it to death, even if you haven't been in it. Another thing to note is that in a recent patch, they made it so that if you run into live Hulks, you may get caught on them and be unable to move. I have no clue why they did this, but you should be aware. Hulks will get one shot anywhere on the main body with the Quasar, so if you need to fight them, then aim center mass with the Quasar to deal with them. Gunships also have rockets, and have been given a massive accuracy buff in a recent patch, so they should be shot down as soon as possible. Quasar one-shots them as long as you land a hit. Now the problems begin to mount when it comes to the tanks. Tanks of the Annihilator and Shredder varieties used to lazily sweep back and forth at you while firing, hoping to hit you. Now, they will properly lock on to target once they've turned in your direction. As a result, their lethality in and out of the car is far higher than before. Barrage tanks shoot rockets that launch you hard and will usually insta-kill the car on direct hit. For all variety of tanks, they have the charger tick damage thing on parked cars, so you'll need to mind where you park. You should either destroy them or run. The Quasar can destroy the Annihilator or Shredder tanks in one shot to their heat sinks, and the Barrage tanks only take one shot to their rocket rack from any angle to destroy them. The other one-shottable spot on them is the back of the tank's main body. Reinforced Striders have changed AI while you're in the car. If you come vaguely close to them, they'll immediately prime a rocket, and they'll try and predict you with their shots. And if you get hit, you'll get launched. Anyone who's hanging out on the side of the car will get sent flying, and if you stay within range, they'll prime another rocket far faster than normal. So it's not advised to have extended engagements in the car with them. This is even more so with cannon turrets. These stationary monstrosities can hit you with pinpoint precision while you're going 80 plus kmh going parallel to them if they feel like it. It's not a certainty that they will hit you, but you should make them a top priority to destroy anyways. They two-shot you, and even if you get hit and survive, you'll likely be sent flying and may die on impact. They have the same weak spot as Annihilator tanks, so you'll need to get behind them to one-shot them. Destroy them immediately, because they'll likely destroy you if you don't. This goes double for Factory Strider top turrets. These function like cannon turrets, but shoot in bursts of 3. One time, I had one shoot under me, launch me in the air, then shoot me out of the air like skeet. Do not drive the car unless that top turret is destroyed, or you'll likely be destroyed. One Quasar shot to the top turret from any angle will destroy it, but it takes 2 to 4 shots to the face to kill the Strider itself. It's not recommended to fight these in the car at all. The last thing to mention about Factory Striders is that they have dual chin guns that do hefty chip damage to the car and can shred you on foot. It's best to avoid being in the line of fire for these. The last thing to mention for their main automaton force is bunker turrets. They have the same AI as cannon turrets and are just as accurate. If their shots hit, it does less damage than cannon turrets, but they shoot in bursts of 3, which do knockback akin to a rocket hitting the car. One shot from the Quasar kills them regardless of where you hit, so you should either destroy them ASAP or run away and shoot them from safety. To add on to bunker turrets, there are the War Striders. They have a grenade barrage, which has a tendency to wreck parked cars, but the main threat is the 2 bunker turrets on their sides that shoot in salvos of 4. They also benefit from the AI change when you're in the car, so you should either destroy them or run away. One Quasar shot to the crotch or legs will destroy them. A recent change to them, though, is that, much like Hulks, you can get stuck on them if you run into them, so avoid close quarters if possible. One last tip for War Striders is that when they do the grenade barrage, they lock their legs in place, so they can't turn around. You can use this to cross them up and have a free window of counterattack without fear of reprisal. The last thing to mention for the faction generally is the mines. They do heavy damage and will likely either pop a tire or one-shot you, usually both. They appear around automaton bases and certain side objectives. Automaton cities are also littered with these mines, usually around broken wall entrances and objectives inside the city. Just avoid or shoot the big obvious mines. Now with the automaton sub-factions, the Incendiary Corps specializes in fire, which does heavy damage to the car, so they aren't advised to have the car against. Their main threats are if the small guys explode on the car, which will set you on fire, and their hulks that shoot explosive napalm shots. Those shots do more damage to your car than you can realize, and they will try to predict shot you, with great accuracy. Don't get into extended engagement with them. The Jet Brigade can keep up with your car just like Predator Hunters. The thing is, this includes the hulks, so either take them out or go fast enough that you lose them. Making them lose line of sight will also prevent them from jetpacking to you. The only other thing to note is that you shouldn't let them explode near your car, or else it'll set it on fire. The last sub-faction to mention are the Cyborgs. The Radicals can keep up with your car, much like Predator Hunters, but otherwise they aren't that big of a deal, since their attacks do very little damage. Agitators have an explosive shot that does decent damage to the car, and they buff surrounding automatons, but otherwise they aren't an issue either. Vox Engines, however, are where everything bad for the car with the automatons culminates. They replace the Factory Striders whenever the Cyborgs are present, which you would think would be a good thing, but you would be wrong. They have dual bunker turrets on their sides, which shoot in salvos of 6 with their direct burst attack, which is near pinpoint accurate, or a salvo of 12 to 30 with a sweeping burst attack. Now in a recent patch, they increased the spread on their shots, so you'd think they'd be less accurate, right? Well, on foot they miss a lot more, but in the car, well, as you can see, this isn't the case. Anyways, they also have a rocket bombardment, which does heavy damage. And to round it off, they have machine guns on their sides, which are like slightly nerfed Factory Strider chin turrets, which do just over half damage. The only option with Vox Engines in the car is to run. All of their parts are too tanky to effectively fight, and they gain pinpoint accuracy if you're in the car. Good news is, they have a somewhat consistent window you can escape with. They almost always start their attack cycle with rockets, so if you see a Vox and they do this attack, use that time to run away. Just make sure not to peek again after they finish, because Vox Engines will pre-fire on you, seemingly knowing where you are as you come around corners. After testing all factions on level 10, the Cyborgs are the truest test of your survivability when it comes to enemy-based hazards. This is due to all the hyper-lethal threats you're constantly under threat of, like tanks, War Striders, and Vox Engines, which will hard target you over other players.
No way.
If you think you're a good driver, and wish to test your survivability against the enemies of democracy, then go to a world with the Cyborgs present. If you can consistently survive and get objectives done, then you're in the top percentile of drivers in that respect. Lastly for now, the Illuminate. When it comes to the small enemies, the Voteless can be run over easily, and will only be a threat if you're sitting still and let them wail on you. When you're in the car, they get a buff to their attack speed, so if you sit still for an extended period of time, you will get World War Z. Overseers of all types also get ran over when going at speed, although recently they've been given a targeting and damage buff, so they will pummel and drain your car's HP unless you take them out or leave. If you choose to leave but don't break line of sight, they will continue shooting at you from hundreds of meters away with absurd levels of accuracy. Though out of the 3 Overseer types, the elevated Overseers are the biggest problem, due to their grenades. The grenades they throw do a large amount of damage, and will either flip your car or pop its wheels, sometimes both, so make sure to keep moving if they throw one at you. And if you're dismounting, get away from the car quickly, so it doesn't throw a grenade at it. As for Watchers, you can't run over them, but they're a low-level threat all things considered. As long as you're leaving the area, it's okay if they call reinforcements, because if you get far enough away, the reinforcements will either do nothing, or despawn. And if you're arriving at an area, then just shoot the Watcher. Just be sure to avoid them when they die, because they explode when they hit the ground, and do heavy damage in a small radius. Flesh mobs are the beginnings of the real troubles for your car. You aren't able to run over them, and they have a special mechanic when it comes to the car. If you're near them, and they aren't in the middle of a charge, then they'll do a flip attack, and try and flip your car. This flip doesn't do damage, but it acts like an explosion with how it affects your car, so if you're going faster, you get farther away from the center of the explosion, and it'll be less effective. But if you're going slow, unlike acid mines, it will almost guaranteed flip you. But don't panic. If a flesh mob is still nearby, and you just sit in the car, depending on the situation, use your judgment, it will walk over and flip you back onto your wheels. If it does this, then speed away. Don't even play. This is meant to slow you down for other enemies to end you, not be the end for you in itself. As mentioned earlier, they also have a charge attack, which is near infinite when you're in the car, just like chargers. The difference is, unlike chargers, they're bugged so they can run through walls. This means they can start charging, you get some distance, forget about them so you park, and suddenly out of the building comes a flesh mob charging at your car still. This means you need to have an option that can stagger them out of their charge, which the Quasar does nicely. And, as a bonus, the Quasar does most of their HP, so you can just switch to your primary and finish them off. Harvesters, despite being common, are probably the biggest enemy-based threat to the car in the game. This is because they've been recently given a targeting buff while you're on foot, which is even more potent when you're in the car. When on foot, the sweeping speed and tracking of the laser has been buffed to be your running speed, but slightly faster, so you're going to get hit if you don't evade properly. In the car, it's far worse, because they have all the usual AI buffs for vehicles. Increased targeting distance, better aiming, sweeping speed, etc. So they're incredibly deadly to the car. They will try to laser you directly if you're sitting still, and if you're moving, their sweeping speed will almost always catch up with you, unless you're going extremely fast, you take evasive maneuvers, or you break line of sight. To add insult to injury, their laser sets your car on fire the second it touches anything but the machine gun, so they do even more damage on top. To counter this, you used to be able to drive directly at the Harvester, then go past them, which forced them to shoot off into the distance. It still works sometimes, but more often than not, they will still properly track you, unless you're directly behind them. They also have had their body's turning speed increased, so the window to counterattack from behind has been tightened. The most consistent way I've found to be able to kill Harvesters in the car with the Quasar is get behind them with a slight turn on the car as you switch seats, so that you're still rolling while staying behind them. Have a weapon that melts their shields, and take a Quasar shot at one of the parts connecting the legs to the main body. This will instantly kill, but if you miss, they'll almost always try to hit you with a retaliation laser. The second solo alternative, not involving the Quasar, is if you have a turret. Harvesters will always target occupied vehicles over turrets. This is actually a common thing with heavy changed AI. The targeting priority is car with player inside / other vehicles, whether they're occupied or not, turrets, then players on foot. This makes it so that if the turret targets the harvester at all, which is a topic for another day, the turret will have free reign to kill off the harvester. An alternative to the turret strat is if you have teammates, you can run distraction ops, allowing them to kill them for you. But you have to be really good at driving in either scenario, or your distraction will be relatively short-lived. Much of the time, it's probably better to just run or get out of the car to fight them, rather than do it inside the car, because they've been buffed so much against the car to the point that I can't even fight them unless I have perfect conditions. Moving on, the Stingray is the second to last enemy, and fortunately they do not hard target the car, but their strafing runs remain deadly to it, either destroying the car outright or popping its wheels and leaving its HP low. Since the angles it comes in at are kind of unpredictable, they're a threat to even parked cars that are nearby, so they're a top priority before stopping, and if you've already stopped at an objective, you may have to just take the loss of your car if you're unfortunate. Shoot them down ASAP regardless of the situation and they won't be a problem. Leviathans are the last enemy, and I'll say it's not advised to bring the car against these guys at all. They have enhanced targeting on the car with their lasers to the point that they're near impossible to consistently avoid, unless you happen to pass a building that blocks them. And if you get grazed, much like harvester lasers, the car gets set on fire immediately. I almost never dive on squid megacities because they're so oppressive to the car, and there's no counterplay really. I have no notes. Just drive fast and use the buildings. And if you're on foot heading to the car, don't get in if a Leviathan is overhead. There's nothing worse than being a sitting duck with 4 high damage lasers on you. The last two things to mention for the faction generally is the Arc Towers and the Gazers. With the Arc Towers, they've been buffed recently to make it so that they can sometimes do almost full damage if it hits the car directly. This means if you're in heavy armor and an arc hits the car, it will usually leave you around 5 HP, with the possibility of a chest hemorrhage being high. Fortunately, the bubble shield can block 1 hit if the arc hits the shield directly before the car. Unfortunately, if it zaps the car directly, it will hit you through the shield. To destroy them, you can either use something with sufficient demo force, like the Quasar or a grenade, or you can just run over it straight up. Although, to do this without getting zapped, you need to be going at decent speed before entering their 30 or so meter detection radius. With the Gazers, they shoot a laser akin to the lasers from Leviathans. They spawn on bases in megacities and in Illuminate ruins bases on regular maps. They can also be run over, but they explode doing massive damage, so it's not recommended. Unless you're planning to stay in the area, you can just drive well to avoid them, and they shouldn't be a problem. If you aren't though, you can easily dispatch them by shooting them in the eye with a primary, or the ball with the Quasar. Lastly for now, we have the sub-faction named the Appropriators. They nixed having Voteless, Flesh Mobs, Crescent Overseers, and Interlopers in favor of 3 new enemies, with all other enemies having increased appearance rates. The Obtruder is like a smaller Watcher, which replaces the Voteless as the chaff enemy. They do very little damage, and they are very little concern when driving. Though you can't run over them, and if you parked, and you shoot one, you have to make sure it doesn't fall into your car, because they also explode on death just like regular Watchers. The Veraciter is a large melee mech, which has a charge attack, a swiping attack, and a 2-handed slam attack. The 2-handed slam does heavy damage to the car, so make sure not to get caught. However, I have no information on the other 2 attacks when it comes to how they interact with the car, since I've never been caught by them. But they both do knockback to you when you're on foot, so I have to assume the same applies to the car. They can be killed with the Quasar in a myriad of ways, but the main ones I would suggest is shooting the cockpit holding the driver, or shooting any of the back 3 legs. All of those options will instantly kill the whole thing. The Gatekeeper is a more heavily armored, ranged mech with 2 different attacks. One where they shoot one shot from each gun, which has knockback and will likely kill if you're on foot if you get hit by both. The other attack is a rapid-fire barrage that they will unleash, doing heavy damage if you're caught in it. The good thing is, they don't have pinpoint accuracy on the car, so driving well should allow you to avoid its attacks. It also has a myriad of Quasar one-shots, but the same ones from the other mech apply. Just bear in mind, certain parts of the legs are armored, making it so that it would take 2 separate shots to take down. Aim for the joints between the armor or the feet, and it will still down them in one shot. For the Illuminate, there's one major challenge for the car: outdriving the laser of and counterattacking harvesters. It's exceedingly hard and sometimes not really rewarding, but if you seek a challenge like with the other factions, it is you counterattacking the harvesters. So if you're up to the task, and can manage to semi-consistently outmaneuver and down harvesters in the car, then you're definitely in the top percentile of drivers when it comes to combat from the car. To round out this section, I'll talk briefly about the biggest threat to your car: your teammates. Most of our arsenal will either one-shot or heavily weaken the car, whether it be stratagem or weapon, so you need to be careful with who you let into your car or generally exist around. Lord knows the amount of times I've let a rando in, and they decide it's a smart idea to shoot an ultimatum out of the car, when it's almost always a bad idea. Just use your judgment. And if someone does something that's a no-no for you, then don't allow them in or near your car, because you're liable to lose it in a preventable way. Remember, you're the one who will have to wait out the cooldown for another car, not them.